What's up, everybody? It's another edition of Brian Talks. Today, I'm going to talk about a subject that I love so much, which is football, specifically Alabama football. What brought this on is that recently, in the month of May, two Alabama players, Cam Robinson and Lawrence Hootie Jones, were arrested for illegal possession of controlled substance and illegal possession of a firearm. And so, of course, anytime anything bad happens to Alabama players, everyone goes crazy and they want to uh, basically vilify Alabama, criticize Nick Saban, talk about how we recruit thugs, and uh, basically use whatever tactics to win. And I basically come on to say and refute that basically because the media pretty much eats these stories up to get clicks, to get views, to make people want to read their stories. And I can prove it. It's really funny. Before the critics really say anything, you really have to look at the situation here. And I understand that breaking the law is wrong. You know, it's never good to have illegal firearms or to have marijuana, especially in states that say it's illegal. The crazy part is though that when the first case when the information for the first when the case first came out, um, no one ever mentioned that there were two other people in the car with Cam Robinson and Lawrence Hootie Jones. That information was never given out by any other media reporters. I looked back at it just to make sure I was right, but I looked at the Bleacher Report articles, I looked at SB Nation, I looked at ESPN, all those articles, and none of them mentioned that there were two more people in the car. All they mentioned was the Alabama players. But the district attorney of Louisiana, the one who said he wasn't going to prosecute the case because of insufficient evidence, he was the first one to mention that there were four people total in the car. Now, that's very important because if you don't know that, you assume, oh, well, obviously, Alabama players at fault. Everything's on them. They should be in trouble. And so I think that was very misleading by the media intentionally to vilify Alabama players. Um, I think the rest of the evidence support that too, because even when the district attorney came out yesterday on Monday, and he said that he's not going to continue with the prosecution for two reasons actually, but a lot of people focus on one of them. One of the reasons that was the main reason why he said that the search that found the firearm and the marijuana was an improper search, and that's the part that people are ignoring. He said it was an improper search. They didn't have a search warrant for it. A lot of people bring up reasonable cause or probable cause. Um, that only works for, I think, you can correct me on this, if you think if someone's life is in danger and they have a reason to intervene and they can go in without a search warrant. But if it's just for searching purposes, then you have to get a warrant first, which the police officers didn't do. They immediately started searching the car and found the firearm and the marijuana. Therefore, it's an improper search. Not saying that, having those things weren't wrong. I'm just saying that the search itself was illegal. Therefore, they had to dismiss that evidence. And therefore, they cannot continue the prosecution without any new evidence. That's why he had to dismiss the case. But the part that people are really getting on him on and saying that Alabama players are getting favorable treatment because they're football players is when he also said that the main reason why he didn't want to prosecute is because he didn't want to ruin these young men's lives. He said they've been working and sweating all their life, and we've been sitting here in the air conditioning. That was the wording he used. Probably could use better wording, but so what? I mean, that's actually a good point. Why do you want to, you know, send these guys to jail and possibly send their life on a completely different track uh, because of something as small as this? And like I said, I'm not discounting the fact that it was wrong, but you also got to make he has a point there. Um, do not allow your bias against Alabama to determine, uh, what you think should be done here. And I think a lot of people are doing that, and the media is eating that up. The media is like, look at Alabama getting preferential treatment. Football players don't have to answer to the law. And it's like, none of this was about that. If you heard him, he said it was an improper search. You can't prosecute. If that happened to me, they couldn't prosecute the case. And so it's just really interesting that these facts are coming up and people are ignoring that in favor of saying, Alabama this, Alabama that. Let's make Alabama to be the big bully. Let's make Alabama look bad, and that's just a horrible thing to do. Also, I noticed as I read some of the comments on some of these articles and things, people say that Nick Saban doesn't discipline players. That when his star players get in trouble, they that basically he doesn't do anything to correct it, or he won't do anything to punish them. That's completely false, and that is a false narrative also intentionally put out there in the media, and that a lot of people have accepted and just ate up. I can give you proof. So Nick Saban always says that he will handle the discipline internally as usual. And I think people just don't like that because they want to know what the people do when how they're disciplined. And people usually think of punishment. Nick Saban also has specifically said that he doesn't necessarily see discipline as punishment. Always, he said, is about getting the action corrected, correcting their behavior so that they can make better decisions in the future, which I think is absolutely correct. I think you should always do that. Now, there are cases where punishment, would probably be the better option. I agree, but you also have to consider that discipline also involves changing behavior. That's important. It's funny because, and just to refute the idea that he doesn't punish players at all, Jonathan Taylor last year, the guy, a lot of people say he shouldn't have been brought on the team in a way because of the domestic violence situation. He was kicked off the team immediately once he had another domestic violence situation, even though later on it turns out that the case was dropped, but Nick Saban did act swiftly and punished him and kicked him off the team. Also, last year, Bo Scarborough, who was one of our backup running backs last year, and who's going to be the starting running back this year, suspended for the first 4 games of the season. Nick Saban handed down that punishment. He wasn't told to, but he did it anyway. So he punished the player, took away 4 games. So a lot of people say, "Oh, he'll just give him a slap on the wrist." It's like, no, he doesn't do that. He actually punishes players when they need it. Also, I'm trying to think of the guy. I can't remember him right now. Um, Robbie Green a few years ago. A lot of people don't remember this. It was during the 2011 year with the BCS National Championship. He was probably going to be one of our starting safeties, or at least the backup that upcoming year. He was a pretty good reserve safety and made a lot of good plays the previous year. He was kicked off the team. I can just keep going down the list. There's a few players I can't even think of all of them that Nick Saban has punished and didn't just give a slap on the wrist. He took away games, and a lot of people don't acknowledge that. And I just think that's false, and people shouldn't do that. Nick Saban does do a great job of disciplining players, and the false narrative out there is that he lets his players get away with anything for the sake of winning, and that's just completely false. And so I really wanted to make this video today because I love Alabama football, and I hate when people trash talk about it and don't really know what they're talking about. And it's really weird seeing the media. Of course, I think I'm going to do another video talking about how the media intentionally misleads people to put out a narrative so that they can be more successful financially. That's pretty much what it is. Clickbait, whatever you want to call it, the media does it so that people can get on board, comment, read their articles, get money from their advertisers. That's all that it is. And so, thank you for listening. I hope you listen to my little 8-minute rant here about Alabama football. Until next time, thank you.